All right, welcome once again to the Life of a Marketer podcast. Today I have guest Lisa Perry. Lisa is a fractional CNO that works with branding, but I'm going to let her introduce herself and talk about what she does. Lisa, take us away. Tell us about what you do.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I help companies build brand leadership, driving loyal customers and delivering profitability. I help them deliver brand loyalty, and I do this through a process that drives, monetizes their business, drives growth, and delivers brand leadership. I've worked with companies, Fortune 100 companies, to emerging growth in industries like CPG, food and beverage, and technology companies, among others.
Oh, wow. Interesting. So it really doesn't, you're really open to working with all kinds of different companies. So what kind of companies are you working with? And then I'm going to ask you
So,
what your process is like.
I, yeah, I started out initially in my early days working with Fortune 100 companies, and now most recently I work with mid-sized to emerging growth startups.
Awesome. Awesome. And so they take you on as a fractional CMO, and you mentioned that you have a process. Tell us about your process. How does that work? How do you implement it with these companies?
So, depending on what the companies need, I work with them in terms of their branding initiatives or their marketing initiatives, depending on what that is. So, I help them help in terms of the branding side, develop their target audience, develop their branding strategy, help them with repositioning initiatives. Or on the marketing side, I help them execute or develop a marketing strategy all the way from developing their initiatives, developing the full marketing plan, and bringing that to market to drive their marketplace leadership, or helping them re-strategize how they go to market with all of the different channels, from digital advertising, social media, promotions, events, all of that, making sure that they're integrated from all of the channels. So it and nuts to bolts, helping them from branding and marketing, and then looking at it from research and consumer insights and market dynamics and competitive analysis as well.
Wow, interesting. So just to interject a question there, I'm wondering what's your favorite, because you probably do a lot of research, I'm assuming, in a lot of background. What's your favorite research tool?
Um, I like, quite honestly, I like consumer research with talking to customers and
Mhm.
finding out the aha from them, and hearing their feedback, because sometimes it's really getting that insights and that direct feedback. There's a lot of tools to go out there and do, from data analytics, from um, research software tools, Google Analytics,
Mhm.
Salesforce, CRMs, things like that. I mean, all of those are very helpful to utilize and track your metrics. But sometimes just hearing the direct feedback from consumers, you get that aha moment and that insight, because getting that direct one-on-one from your, even looking at the reviews or looking at the social media or getting out on a sales call and talking to your customers, that is the most direct feedback, and you've got to get with your consumers and your customers and hear what's going on. That is the best. I always value that over looking at numbers. Numbers are great and you need them, but you want that direct feedback from your customers and your consumers.
Yeah, I agree. I was actually the last podcast talking with another fractional CMO about this. The way that a lot of times businesses, they haven't talked with their customers. They haven't picked up the phone just to give them a call. And I always ask when I'm working with customers if I can talk to at least one customer when I'm doing it. And it's a lot of times it's hard to get access and have them allow you to do that. But it's just so essential to do. If you can do that, it really is going to give you some real ideas about the way people are thinking. So I appreciate that. It's a very good suggestion. All right.
You can get off course pretty quickly on your business if you don't stay connected with your audience.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right. So changing gears a little bit, I was just curious. I had to throw that question in there. What's the best thing about being in the marketing industry for you?
Oh my gosh, I am so passionate about what I do, um, and the reason being is that marketers have an opportunity to drive a high level of success in what we do. And the reason being is because we can make a difference in organizations' image, the reputation, the relevancy, the engagement, and sales. And we can see the results in that effort that we do, that we're making. And that is so powerful. It's amazing.
It is. It is. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I mean,
That's
those
a
are
good point.
big triggers when you think about it. So you're changing a company's image, or you're changing a company's reputation, or you're going from a company that wasn't around to all of a sudden an overnight success. Those are big. Those are big things, and that's marketing has a big seat at the table to drive that, and that can be pretty powerful.
Yeah, I agree. That's so true. That's so true. Um, a lot of people answer that they like to learn about the businesses that they're working with and things like that, but it really is just so powerful. You're able to just propel a business forward and create a massive amount of business where where it was not there before, from awareness all the way down to directly marketing your product to people. So that's a good point. I agree with that. So what sort of advice do you offer to those that are in the marketing industry right now?
Um, target target audience. Understanding your target audience is critical. As this information drives every strategy that you execute across the organization. Here's a sad statistic: 80% of consumers don't think brands understand them. So customers want brands to understand their challenges and provide solutions for them. So when you focus on your target audience, it gives companies so many benefits, right? So when we think about this, it builds strong relationships. It helps a company stand out from the crowd. It gives higher customer satisfaction. It increases spending, it makes spending efficiencies, and it increases conversion. So there's a lot of benefits if we focus in on our target audience. And it's the one thing that I see when I go into companies and start working with them is they're not targeted. They want to focus in on everyone instead of being very focused in on their target audience. So that's the one thing that I say, and I try and work with, is focus on your target audience. It drives all the strategies.
Besides calling and speaking with the target audience and looking at reviews online, what are some other ways that you can kind of get at that? Because it seems like to me that a lot of times your target audience isn't even real sure what they want. I mean, deep down they know, but they can't articulate it. What are some different ways and techniques that you use to get at that?
Understanding their pain points, talking about what their challenges are, what frustrates them, what isn't working in their life. You can ask questions to get at their issues that they're facing in life. You don't have to just uh, you know get what do you need, straight out ask that. Go around round by different questions that you're asking them to get at the need state that you need to solve for. So you find out what frustrates them, what's not working, why they're buying a competitor's product, what makes them happy with that competitor's product, what they're not getting right now. So some of those questions you can get at to figure out how you can fill a void that they don't have. So you keep just chipping away at those questions to get at if you're developing a new product or you're trying to find out what's not working. The other thing is go look at your complaints, find out the complaints that you're getting through customer service and on your reviews. That's a great way to figure out what's not working and how to solve for that pretty quickly. So those are some things to make sure that you're still satisfying your target audience, and how to continue to satisfy your target audience.
Sure. Awesome. Awesome. So when you have, let me ask you this question. So this is always one that I'm looking to figure out solutions for. Um, there are sometimes people, and they all have a problem, but they don't know that they have that problem, right? So if you look at the Schwartz scale, which is says the that funnel, and it has the different levels of awareness. um, how do you help companies, because that's, to me, that's the hardest people to market to, because they don't know they have a problem, so you have to tell them that they have the problem. um, how do you go about approaching that in let's say in branding? How do you, what are the best ways to confront that issue?
Well, I think you've got to say, look, we've got an opportunity. We want to be in this segment, right? Here's where we know we want to focus in on. And here's where we think we have an opportunity, and we have to define that. Here's our focus, and then connect with consumers and talk with them about what they like to do, what how they interact with whatever it is that you are they're doing. Have them start using things, have them interact with things, and start watching what they do and how they use things. And you can start to find out what's working, what's not working. And the more that you get them to talk and understand, I think when you start to do deep dive interviews, you can get an understanding of folks. That's where you've got to start diving in and doing like in-home use tests, or you can do deep interviews and start drilling down into what's working and what's not working. The interviews and the focus groups are really helpful to dive into those kinds of things to solve for what's working around a specific product or service. And then you can start to peel back the layers and find those things out.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Changing gears again. This is a totally selfish question for our podcast. But we ask everybody this question: what are other successful people in marketing like yourself that you'd like to acknowledge that should be on the podcast?
Christine Kavala, she's a VP, Vice President at Partner Success at ASU.
And what is she vice president of?
Partner Success at ASU.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Awesome. Well, we'll be looking her up on LinkedIn and see if she can be on the podcast. All right. One final question that's just for fun. Tell me the oldest technology that you remember using.
Pagers before cell phones.
Pagers. Yeah, I remember those. Yeah, like all the doctors would have them, and they'd be like at school or at church or whatever, and beep beep beep. We have to go out, and probably some of our audience may not even know what those are, the pagers. And that was when I was a little kid when those were still used.
Right. You
But
just put in your number, or you put in the message, then you went to some kind of a phone to call people back.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Put it on
that
your belt or whatever.
sure.
Right. And you got a beep, and didn't last long, but transition to cell phones, but
Yeah,
pretty
and
funny.
then Yeah, and then people would go and they'd have to go and call. Like a lot of people don't know now that because there were no cell phones. Like you had your phone on the wall or whatever, and you pull it off and you have a cord. And like in my house, you had this super long cord and you could stretch it out. And so like pick up the phone and if you're cooking or something, you take it over. You got this cord connected to the wall where you're cooking. Believe it or not, that's definitely not the oldest technology that we heard of on this
Did
podcast.
you hear?
Oh man, I think the probably one of the oldest things. Well, I always tell everybody this. My mom, was the first person that I interviewed for this podcast just to practice. She works for Cisco. She doesn't do marketing, but she said the oldest thing that I've ever used is a pencil, and you're like, really, really, mom? That's the best answer that you can come up with. And then on the podcast, like some people say, that's
Number
a
two
legitimate
pencil.
answer. That's a legit. And some people are like, oh, your mom's a jerk. You know, how did she answer like that? So we get both extreme, both reactions, and yeah, I guess it is technology. Sure, yeah, you could say that.
Or I guess you can say like a watch now, considering the Apple, like a traditional watch or something,
yeah,
considering the
yeah,
Apple.
yeah, but that's not the
But,
spirit of the question. You know, that's not the spirit of
right,
the question.
exactly, exactly.
But
That's pretty funny.
yeah, so that we got that. But I think one of the oldest ones is there's something called the Commodore, which is like this early gaming system where they'd send it to you and they'd send you instructions on how to program a game, like some kind of adventure game. So you'd have to sit there and program it. And you know, invariably you'd always make a mistake. So you'd spend hours going back and looking through the code to correct it. And then when it was coded, you could play the game. So that it's like an early Atari type deal. Someone
Wow,
mentioned that.
that's pretty impressive
Yeah,
technology
yeah,
there. I mean, that
yeah.
somebody remembers that,
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
a lot of the marketers, I mean, they have since they were little kids have been super into technology, which is something that I find interesting. And I was too. I was into technology. We were growing up one of the few kids that had, you know, the PC with the rubber floppy disk and all that. And
oh, I do remember the floppy disk, the soft
yeah,
one and then the hard one. Yes,
yeah,
that was
yeah.
pretty.
Yeah, but I can't,
So,
you know, the Commodores that kind of takes the cake. You know, I haven't really found something that much older than that. But I expect someone's going to come up with an answer that's even more interesting than that at some point. But
yeah,
anyways, yeah,
yeah.
you're the first person to answer pager though, so um,
Oh, well, good.
I've gotten that before. All right, awesome, awesome. Amazing how much things have changed over time. Amazing.
I know it is. It is.
All right, Lisa,
Technology is. Yeah.
we keep our podcast kind of short, so we're going to end it here. But thanks so much for coming on the Life of a Marketer podcast. It airs 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We stream it on social media, and then you can also catch it on YouTube if you subscribe to the channel. We're released at the same time. So hey, we're glad that if you made it this far into the podcast, we're glad you watched us. Like and subscribe, share it with a friend, and we're once again thanks if you watched down to the end of it. Over and out.
Thank you.